Christine Martin's hands trembled as she counted the bills one more time. $12.47. That's what stood between her and complete financial collapse. The Chicago wind rattled her apartment window on South Ashland Avenue, carrying with it the smell of rain and the distant sound of the Red Line train. A sound that once meant possibility, but now only reminded her of places she couldn't afford to go. Her daughter Amara's school supply list sat on the kitchen table, half the items still unchecked. Rent was due in 9 days. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer her grandmother taught her. Lord, I'm not asking for riches, just enough to get through tomorrow. Tomorrow came faster than she expected, and it came with a choice that would change everything. A choice between walking past a dying stranger or giving away money she desperately needed to save his life. She didn't know that the man choking on that park bench owned half the city. She didn't know he commanded an empire that existed in both boardrooms and shadows. She only knew he needed help, and she was the only one there to give it. Before we dive into this shocking story, if you're watching from Australia, anywhere in the USA, the UK, or anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this voice is reaching. While you're there, hit the subscribe button. Stories like this aren't just entertainment. They're real experiences that teach us about love, caring, and trust, human behavior, and the uncomfortable truths people face. By subscribing, you're joining a community that values honest storytelling and meaningful conversations. Your likes and comments help this video reach someone else who might need it. Now, let's get into what happened to Christine. 2 years. That's how long it had been since Christine became a widow. 2 years since she'd watched David collapse in their living room, clutching his chest, his eyes wide with the terror of knowing he was leaving her and Amara behind. 2 years since she'd held his hand in the ambulance, begging him to stay, promising him everything would be okay, even as the monitors screamed that nothing was okay. The funeral had been small. David's construction job hadn't come with life insurance, something they'd always meant to handle but never did. His colleagues passed a hat, raising enough to cover the burial at Burr Oak Cemetery. Christine's family helped where they could, but everyone had their own struggles on Chicago's South Side. Before David's death, Christine's world had been beautifully simple. She'd been a stay-at-home mother, her days filled with playground visits to Thule Park, helping Amara learn to read, and preparing dinners that filled their small apartment with warmth. David's paycheck wasn't much, but it was steady. They'd been saving for a house, dreaming of a backyard where Amara could run free. Then everything stopped. The reality of single motherhood hit like a Chicago winter, relentless and merciless. Bills piled up. The landlord, Mr. Patterson, gave her 3 months' grace, but his kindness had limits. Christine needed income, but she had no recent work experience, no degree, and no network in the corporate world. What she did have was resourcefulness and determination. She'd noticed something during her years as a stay-at-home mom. Busy people needed help connecting to services, but didn't have time to search. She'd helped friends find apartments, connected neighbors to contractors, and linked busy nurses to real estate agents, showing properties near the hospitals where they worked. People thanked her with coffee, with recommendations, with gratitude. Christine realized she could turn this into a business. She became a property liaison, a bridge between overworked professionals seeking homes and real estate agents handling rentals or sales across Chicago. She'd meet clients at coffee shops in the Loop, at hospital cafeterias in Streeterville, at law firm lobbies in the West Loop. Once deals closed, she earned commission from both the client and the agent, usually 10% from each side. It was honest work, respectable work, but it was feast or famine. Some weeks, she'd close 2 deals and have enough for rent, groceries, and even a small treat for Amara. Other weeks, like this one, potential clients would ghost her, deals would fall through, and her bank account would dwindle to almost nothing. Amara, now 7, understood more than Christine wished she did. The girl had stopped asking for toys. She'd started turning off lights religiously, conserving electricity without being told. She'd even offered to skip her after-school art program to help Mommy save money. That conversation had broken Christine's heart. "Baby, you keep being a kid," Christine had told her, fighting tears. "Mommy's got this." But on that Tuesday morning in Lincoln Park, Christine wasn't sure she had anything anymore. Kakinai Nobuo had built his empire on understanding one fundamental truth. Everything in Chicago had a price, and everyone had need. The key was knowing which price to pay and which need to exploit. At 40, he'd achieved what most men only fantasized about. King and Frammy Group of companies wasn't just successful, it was transformative. The company specialized in acquiring abandoned properties throughout Chicago's south and west sides, renovating them, and either selling them at reasonable prices or converting them into affordable rentals. City Hall praised his work. Community leaders called him a champion of neighborhood revitalization. Business journals featured him in profiles titled The Rebuilding King and Chicago's Second Chance Developer. His corporate headquarters occupied 3 floors of the Willis Tower, with views stretching across Lake Michigan. King and Frammy employed over 300 people: architects, contractors, property managers, sales agents, and administrative staff. Last year alone, the company had renovated 47 properties in Englewood, Bronzeville, and Austin, transforming eyesores into homes. But that was only half of Kakinai's world. The other half existed in shadows, in backroom meetings at restaurants in Chinatown, in coded conversations at private clubs in River North, in carefully structured transactions that never appeared on any official ledger. Kakinai was also a boss in an underworld organization, a role he'd inherited from his mentor, Tanaka Hiroshi, a Japanese crime lord who'd recognized potential in a young, ambitious immigrant 20 years ago. The traditional Japanese tattoos covering Kakinai's torso and arms told the story of his dual life. The koi fish swimming upstream symbolized perseverance and ambition. The dragon represented wisdom and strength. The cherry blossoms signified the temporary nature of life and power, and the specific patterns woven throughout identified his rank and allegiance to those who understood the language of ink and honor. These tattoos remained hidden beneath expensive Tom Ford suits and custom dress shirts. To the business world, Kakinai was just another successful entrepreneur who'd leveraged hard work and vision into wealth. Only a select few knew the complete truth: that his legitimate business empire provided perfect cover for money laundering, that his construction crews sometimes handled problems that couldn't be solved through legal channels, that his influence extended far beyond corporate boardrooms into the machinery of corruption that still ran parts of Chicago. Shibamoto Isamu, his right-hand man and closest friend, managed the delicate balance between these worlds. At 35, Shibamoto had been by Kakinai's side for 15 years, ever since Kakinai had saved him from a gambling debt that would have cost him his life. The loyalty between them ran deeper than blood. "You're spending too much time alone," Shibamoto had warned that Tuesday morning as Kakinai prepared to leave for Lincoln Park. The Donnelly situation still isn't resolved. William McMahon is getting impatient about the River North project, and Intako from the mayor's office called again about the Pilsen development. "Which is exactly why I need an hour of silence," Kakinai had replied, pocketing the small bag of Cakeage crackers he'd picked up from a Japanese grocery store in Arlington Heights. "Tell everyone I'm unavailable." Lincoln Park had become Kakinai's sanctuary. Specifically, a bench near the nature boardwalk, tucked away from the main pathways, surrounded by trees that provided privacy even in a public space. He'd discovered it 5 years ago during a particularly stressful period when a territorial dispute with a rival organization had turned bloody. Sitting there, eating the same crackers his mother had packed in his school lunch back in Osaka, Kakinai could think clearly. He could separate emotion from strategy, sentiment from necessity. He could remember why he'd built his empire in the first place. Not just for power or wealth, but to prove that a Japanese immigrant could own an American city without anyone realizing they'd been conquered. That Tuesday, he'd been contemplating the McMahon problem. William McMahon represented a group of investors interested in partnering with King and Frammy on a massive River North development project. The numbers were excellent, the location prime. But Kakinai's intelligence network had uncovered something troubling. McMahon had connections to the Donnelly crime family, rivals who'd been encroaching on Kakinai's territory. The partnership could be a genuine business opportunity or a Trojan horse designed to infiltrate his organization. He'd been weighing these possibilities, mechanically eating crackers, when one lodged in his throat. The choking started suddenly. One moment, he was breathing normally. The next, his airway was completely blocked. Kakinai stood, his hands instinctively going to his throat. Panic, an emotion he rarely experienced, flooded his system as he realized he couldn't draw breath. His vision began to blur. His expensive Italian shoes scuffed against the pavement as he staggered. The park, usually peaceful, seemed suddenly empty. No one was nearby. No one was coming. This is how it ends, he thought with bizarre clarity. Not in a shootout, not in a betrayal, but choking on a snack like a child. Then she appeared. Christine had been walking without a destination, her mind spinning through calculations that never added up. $12 until Friday, when she hoped, prayed, that the Johnson deal would close. Mrs. Johnson, a pediatric surgeon at Lurie Children's Hospital, needed a 2-bedroom apartment near the medical district. Christine had shown her 3 properties, and the surgeon seemed ready to commit to one. If the deal closed, Christine would earn $400 in combined commission, enough to cover rent with a little left over. But deals fell through all the time. People changed their minds. Better offers emerged. Christine had learned not to count money until it hit her bank account. Lost in these thoughts, she almost didn't notice the man in distress. But some instinct, maybe the same instinct that made her check on Amara 3 times every night, the same instinct that had screamed at her to call 911 when David collapsed, pulled her attention to the figure struggling near a bench. A man, well-dressed, alone, choking. Christine didn't hesitate. She didn't consider that he was a stranger. She didn't calculate the cost of involvement. She ran. The nearest convenience store sat 200 yards away, across from the Lincoln Park Zoo entrance. Christine sprinted, her worn Skechers pounding the pavement, her lungs burning. She burst through the door, startling the clerk. "Water! I need water now. Someone's choking." She grabbed a bottle from the refrigerator case. The price tag read $3.24. Christine fumbled for her small wallet, hands shaking as she pulled out a $5 bill. The clerk handed her change, $1.76, but Christine was already running back. Kakinai's face had turned an alarming shade of red. He was bent over, his body convulsing in the universal posture of someone fighting for air. Christine thrust the water bottle toward him while simultaneously dialing 911 on her phone. "Drink. Small sips," she commanded, placing her free hand on his shoulder to steady him. Her voice carried the authority of a mother who'd dealt with countless childhood emergencies. "Help is coming. Just try to breathe slowly." Kakinai managed to grasp the bottle. The first sip was difficult, painful, but the water helped. The obstruction shifted, then cleared. Air rushed into his lungs in a desperate, gasping intake. He bent over, hands on his knees, coughing and breathing in alternating waves. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's voice came through Christine's phone. There's a man who is choking near the nature boardwalk in Lincoln Park. He's breathing now, but he needs to be checked. Please send an ambulance. Through watering eyes, Kakinai looked at the woman who'd saved him. She was African-American, probably in her early 30s, wearing a coat that had seen better days and sneakers that were worn at the heels. But her face radiated concern, compassion, and a calm competence that struck him as remarkable. The ambulance arrived within 6 minutes, sirens announcing its approach through the park. 2 paramedics jumped out, bringing equipment and questions. What happened? The lead paramedic asked. He was choking, Christine explained. I gave him water, and it seemed to help clear the obstruction. Sir, can you tell us your name? The paramedic asked Kakinai. Kakinai Nobuo, he managed, his voice hoarse. Christine glanced at her phone. 2:47 p.m. Amara's school dismissed at 3:15. She needed to catch the bus to get there on time. Miss, we'll need your information as a witness, the second paramedic said, pulling out a tablet. Christine Martin, she replied, already stepping back. I'm sorry, I really have to go. I need to pick up my daughter from school. He's breathing fine now. You've got this. Wait, Kakinai tried to call after her, but Christine was already moving away, half jogging toward the nearest bus stop. She didn't see the way Kakinai watched her disappear into the afternoon crowd. She didn't see him touch the water bottle she'd bought, reading the price sticker. She didn't see the expression on his face, a mixture of confusion, gratitude, and something else. Something like wonder. By that evening, Kakinai sat in his private office on the 78th floor of Willis Tower. The Chicago skyline spread before him like a kingdom of lights. The doctors at Northwestern Memorial Hospital had checked him thoroughly, declared him fine, and recommended he eat more carefully. The entire incident had taken less than 3 hours from choking to discharge. But Kakinai couldn't stop thinking about the woman who'd saved him. Shibamoto sat across from him, notebook open, waiting for instructions. The younger man had been briefed on what happened and was already running through the implications. A random Good Samaritan, Shibamoto observed. That's rare in this city. Usually, people film emergencies rather than intervene. She didn't hesitate, Kakinai said quietly, still holding the water bottle. And look at this. He showed Shibamoto the price sticker. $3.24. She paid with a $5 bill. I saw her wallet when she opened it. There wasn't much inside. She spent money she probably needed on a stranger, Shibamoto said, understanding dawning. That's either foolish or noble. Find her, Kakinai said. Christine Martin, African-American woman, early 30s, wearing a dark blue coat and worn sneakers. She mentioned picking up her daughter from school, so she's local. Start with Chicago public schools in districts near Lincoln Park. Cross-reference with the name. You want to thank her? I want to know who she is, Kakinai replied. In my experience, Isamu. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. But she left before I could even speak. She didn't wait for gratitude or reward. She just helped. He paused. I need to understand why. Shibamoto recognized that tone. When Kakinai fixated on something, he didn't let go until he understood it completely. I'll start tonight. Chicago's a big city, but the name isn't common. If she's in any databases, voter registration, property records, business licenses, I'll find her. What Shibamoto didn't say, but both men understood, was that Kakinai's organization had access to resources that went far beyond public records. They had connections in city agencies, law enforcement, and private data brokers. Finding one woman in Chicago was challenging, but not impossible. One more thing, Kakinai added. I want to know everything. Where she lives, what she does for work, her financial situation, and her family. Everything. Understood, Shibamoto replied, already making notes. After Shibamoto left, Kakinai stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the city he'd conquered through 2 different empires. The legitimate business world knew him as a visionary developer. The underground knew him as someone you didn't cross. Both worlds feared and respected him. But for the first time in years, someone had treated him as neither an opportunity nor a threat. Christine Martin had seen only a human being in distress and had responded with immediate, costly compassion. The water bottle sat on his desk, a $3.24 reminder that some people still operated on principles that had nothing to do with profit or power. Kakinai intended to find out if Christine Martin was truly that rare creature, someone genuinely good, or if she was simply a better actress than most. And when he found her, he'd have a decision to make about what her kindness deserved in return. Far across the city, in her small apartment on South Ashland Avenue, Christine was heating leftover rice and beans for dinner. Amara sat at the kitchen table, working on homework. The incident in the park had already faded from Christine's mind, relegated to a small good deed in a life that desperately needed more good news. She counted her money again, $10.23. The water bottle had cost her, but she didn't regret it. You couldn't put a price on a human life. What Christine didn't know was that the life she'd saved was about to save hers in return, in ways she couldn't possibly imagine. Shibamoto Isamu was nothing if not thorough. Within 48 hours, he'd compiled a comprehensive profile on Christine Martin that painted a picture both sad and admirable. He presented his findings to Kakinai on Thursday afternoon in the private conference room adjacent to Kakinai's office, a soundproof space where they discussed matters that couldn't be overheard. Christine and Martin, age 33, Shibamoto began, sliding a folder across the table. Widow. Her husband, David Martin, died of a heart attack 2 years ago. No life insurance. She has 1 daughter, Amara, age 7, enrolled at Earl Elementary School in Bronzeville. Kakinai opened the folder, examining the information. A driver's license photo showed Christine smiling, a picture clearly taken before tragedy struck. Her address was listed in a modest neighborhood. Her financial records, obtained through less than legal but highly effective channels, told a story of struggle. She's a property liaison, Shibamoto continued. Self-employed. She connects busy professionals looking for homes with real estate agents. Earns commission from both sides when deals close. Income is sporadic. She made $2,100 last month, $600 the month before, and $3,400 3 months ago. The average over the past year is about $1,800 monthly. That's barely enough to survive in this city, Kakinai observed. Rent is $950 monthly for a 1-bedroom in a building that's seen better days. She's 2 weeks behind currently, though the landlord seems sympathetic. No car. She uses public transportation. Minimal savings. About $400 in credit card debt. Her daughter qualifies for free lunch at school. Shibamoto paused. On the day she helped you, her bank account showed a balance of $12.47. Kakinai felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest. She'd given him water that cost $3.24 when she had barely $12 to her name. She'd potentially sacrificed money needed for her daughter's welfare to save a stranger's life. Background, he asked. Clean. No criminal record. Raised on the South Side by her grandmother after her mother died of cancer. Married David Martin at 25. Worked various retail jobs before becoming a stay-at-home mother. After her husband's death, she created this property liaison business from scratch. People who've worked with her describe her as honest, hardworking, and reliable. She has a small but loyal client base. Social connections? Limited. Her family is small, a few cousins, an elderly aunt. She attends Mount Moriah Baptist Church in Bronzeville occasionally, but not regularly. Most of her time is spent working or caring for her daughter. No romantic relationships since her husband's death. Shibamoto closed his tablet. She's alone, struggling, but maintaining dignity and raising her child without asking for handouts. Kakinai was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. In his world, people lied, manipulated, and schemed. Kindness was usually a calculated investment. Generosity typically masks self-interest. But Christine Martin's actions didn't fit any pattern he recognized. She'd helped him with no knowledge of who he was, no expectation of reward, and at genuine personal cost. She hadn't lingered for thanks or tried to leverage the situation into a networking opportunity. "What do you want to do?" Shibamoto asked. Kakinai stood, walking to the window. Below, Chicago sprawled in every direction, a city he'd mastered through ruthlessness, strategic thinking, and an understanding that power respected only power. But Christine Martin operated on different rules. She'd shown him something he'd forgotten existed: unconditional human decency. "I want to help her," Kakinai said finally, "but not in a way that insults her dignity or makes her feel like a charity case." Ow! A plan was already forming in Kakinai's mind. "She's a property liaison. She connects people to homes. We're one of the largest real estate development companies in Chicago." He turned to face Shibamoto. "Set up a meeting. Use a proxy. Have someone from King and Framme's Human Resources Department reach out to her as if we're looking to hire contract liaisons for client referrals. Make it seem completely legitimate. You want to offer her a position?" "I want to offer her an opportunity," Kakinai corrected. "King and Framme work with dozens of properties monthly. We have clients constantly seeking homes, corporate relocations, employees moving to Chicago, and investors looking for rental properties. If she's as good at her job as these references suggest, she'd be genuinely useful to us, and we'd provide her with a steady stream of potential commissions." Shibamoto smiled slightly. Legitimate business arrangement that benefits both parties, but also happens to solve her financial crisis. "Exactly. She gets dignity. We get a good contractor. Everyone wins. And when she realizes who you are, then we'll see if her kindness extends to accepting help when it's offered," Kakinai said. "Contact her tomorrow. Set the meeting for early next week." Christine's phone rang Friday afternoon while she was waiting at Starbucks in the Loop, hoping a potential client would show up. The number was unfamiliar, but she answered anyway. In her business, every call could be an opportunity. "Ms. Christine Martin?" A professional woman's voice. "Yes, this is Christine. My name is Leslie Park, Human Resources Director at King and Framme Group of Companies. We're a real estate development firm headquartered in Willis Tower. I'm calling because we're looking to expand our client services network by bringing on independent property liaisons to work with our customers. Your name came up through some referrals, and we're wondering if you'd be interested in discussing a potential contract arrangement." Christine's heart skipped. King and Framme was huge, one of Chicago's most respected development companies. She'd heard of them, but never imagined they'd heard of her. "Yes, absolutely," she managed, trying to keep her voice professional despite the surge of hope. "I'd be very interested." "Excellent. Would Monday morning work for you? Say, 10 a.m. at our offices? 75th floor of Willis Tower." Monday. Christine's mind raced. She could make that work. Amara's school started at 8:30, and she could take the Red Line downtown afterward. "Monday at 10 works perfectly," Christine confirmed. "Wonderful. Just ask for me at the reception desk. Looking forward to meeting you, Ms. Martin." After hanging up, Christine sat motionless for a moment, afraid to believe what just happened. This could change everything. King and Frammy handled massive properties. If they were serious about hiring contract liaisons, the commission opportunities could be substantial. Steady work, reliable income. She whispered another prayer. Thank you. Whatever happens, thank you. Monday morning arrived with Chicago autumn sunshine breaking through clouds. Christine dressed in her best outfit, a navy pantsuit she'd bought for David's funeral and rarely worn since. She dropped Amara at school, caught the red line to Adams/Wabash, and walked to Willis Tower with 20 minutes to spare. The building's lobby was overwhelming. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, crowds of professionals moving with purpose. Christine found the directory, then made her way to the elevator bank. When she stepped off on the 75th floor, she entered a world of glass walls, modern furniture, and the quiet hum of serious business. Christine Martin for Leslie Park, she told the receptionist. Within minutes, she was ushered into a sleek conference room. Leslie Park, an efficient-looking woman in her 40s, greeted her warmly, along with two other staff members who introduced themselves as part of the client services division. For the next hour, they discussed King and Frammy's business model, their property portfolio, and their vision for expanding client support. They explained that many of their customers, corporate relocations, out-of-state investors, busy professionals, needed personal assistance finding the right properties. The company wanted to build a network of vetted, professional liaisons who could provide white-glove service. Your commission structure would be standard 10% from clients, but King and Frammy would also pay you a flat fee of $300 per successfully closed deal as a finder's fee for bringing quality clients to our properties, Leslie explained. We estimate we could provide you with 8 to 12 qualified leads monthly. Christine's mind did the math. If even half those leads closed, she'd be looking at $4,000 to $6,000 monthly, more than she'd ever earned consistently. This was life-changing. There's one more thing, Leslie said. Our CEO likes to personally meet contractors we bring into our client services network. He'll be joining us briefly if that's acceptable. Of course, Christine replied, though her nervousness spiked. The conference room door opened, and Christine's world tilted sideways. The man who entered was the same man she'd helped in Lincoln Park. The man who'd been choking. The man whose life she'd saved with a $3.24 bottle of water. Kakinai Nobuo. Christine's expression must have betrayed her recognition because Kakinai smiled slightly as he took a seat across from her. Ms. Martin, he said formally, as if they were strangers. Thank you for coming. You. Christine started, then stopped, unsure how to proceed. Leslie and the other staff members looked confused. Kakinai raised a hand gently. Ms. Martin and I have met before, he explained to his staff, though she may not have known who I was at the time. He turned his full attention to Christine. Would you give us a few minutes alone, please? Leslie nodded, gathering her materials. Of course. We'll be right outside. Once they were alone, silence stretched between them. Christine felt off balance, uncertain. Had this entire opportunity been manufactured? Was the job offer even real? You're probably wondering if this is legitimate, Kakinai said, reading her expression accurately. I assure you it is. King and Frammy genuinely need quality property liaisons. Leslie's offer is real, the commission structure is standard, and the leads we provide are genuine. You'd have to earn every commission through good work. But you arranged this, Christine said quietly, because I helped you in the park. I had my people find you, yes, Kakinai admitted, but not to offer you charity. I had you investigated, Ms. Martin. I learned about your business, checked your references, and confirmed your professional reputation. You're good at what you do. You're honest, hardworking, and reliable. Those qualities have value to my company regardless of our prior encounter. Christine absorbed this. You investigated me? I needed to understand who you were, Kakinai said simply. Someone who'd give nearly half her available money to save a stranger's life. That's rare. I wanted to know if you were genuinely that selfless or if there was an angle I wasn't seeing. And what did you conclude? That you're exactly who you appeared to be, Kakinai replied, which makes you almost unique in my experience. He leaned forward slightly. I'm going to be honest with you, Ms. Martin, in a way I'm not often honest with people. I'm a man who's built success on understanding leverage, on recognizing opportunities, on knowing that everyone wants something. But you helped me, expecting nothing. You left before I could thank you. You disappeared into your life without trying to capitalize on saving my life. I just did what anyone should do, Christine said. But most people don't, Kakinai countered. Most people would have lingered, made sure I knew their name, positioned themselves for reward. You didn't. He paused. That bottle of water cost you $3.24. My investigation revealed you had $12.47 in your account that day. You spent over 25% of your available resources on a stranger. That's not just kindness, Ms. Martin. That's sacrificial compassion. Christine felt tears threatening. I have a daughter. I couldn't watch someone's father, someone's son, die without trying to help. And that's exactly why I want you working with King and Frammy, Kakinai said. Not because I owe you, though I do, but because people with your character are assets. You'll treat our clients the way you treated me, as human beings who matter, not as transactions. That creates loyalty. Loyalty creates business. So this is real? Christine asked, needing confirmation. Completely real. Take the contract to a lawyer if you want. You'll find it's legitimate and fair. Work with us for a month. If the leads we provide are quality and the arrangement works for you, continue. If not, walk away. Kakinai stood, preparing to leave. But I hope you'll say yes, because I believe in reciprocity, Ms. Martin. You gave me back my life. I like to help improve yours, not through charity, through opportunity earned by your own merit. He moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. You asked the paramedics my name, and then you left. You never Googled me, did you? Never looked me up? No, Christine admitted. Should I have? Kakinai smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his usually severe face. Most people would have. They'd have discovered I'm worth several $100 million. They'd have calculated how to maximize their advantage. But you were too busy getting your daughter from school and trying to survive. He opened the door. Leslie will handle the paperwork. Welcome to King and Frammy, Ms. Martin. After he left, Christine sat alone in the conference room, overwhelmed. This wasn't just a job. This was a lifeline thrown exactly when she needed it most. Leslie returned with contracts. Christine read every word carefully, but everything was exactly as described. Fair terms, real opportunity, a chance to build something stable for Amara's future. She signed her name, Christine and Martin, and felt like she was signing a new chapter of her life. Spring arrived in Chicago with the explosive color of tulips in Millennium Park and the return of Navy Pier's fountain shows. Christine stood in the living room of her new apartment in Bronzeville, a two-bedroom with actual closet space, updated appliances, and windows that didn't rattle when the wind blew. Amara had her own room now, decorated with art supplies and books Christine could finally afford to buy. The girls' laughter echoed from the kitchen where she was making after-school snacks, a sound that filled Christine's heart to overflowing. In 6 months working with King and Frammy, Christine had closed 43 deals. Her commissions, combined with the company's finder's fees, had averaged $5,200 monthly. She'd paid off her credit card debt, built a small emergency fund, and even started a modest college savings account for Amara. But more than the money, she'd found purpose. Working with King and Frammy's clients, families relocating to Chicago, first-time homebuyers, young professionals starting careers, reminded her why she'd started this business in the first place. She was helping people find not just houses, but homes, places where they'd build memories, raise children, create lives. She learned more about Kakinai Nobuo over these months. His reputation was complex. Some people spoke of him with admiration, others with caution. Rumors circulated about his connections, his influence, and the shadows behind his legitimate business empire. But Christine focused on what she knew for certain. He'd kept his word. The opportunity was real. The work was honest. They'd spoken occasionally at company functions. Brief, professional conversations. He'd never mentioned the park incident again, never held it over her as if she owed him something. He'd given her an opportunity and then gotten out of her way to let her succeed on her own merit. Christine's phone buzzed with a text from Leslie Park. New lead, executive relocating from New York, looking for family home near good schools in Oak Park area. Interested? Absolutely. Christine texted back. She looked around her apartment, then at the framed photo of David she kept on the bookshelf. She spoke to him sometimes, updating him on Amara's progress, sharing the victories and challenges of their life without him. "We're going to be okay," she whispered to his picture. "I know you were worried, leaving us, but we're going to be okay." At his office in Willis Tower, Kakinai reviewed quarterly reports. King and Frammy had exceeded projections again. The property liaison program was working exceptionally well. Christine Martin had become one of their top contractors, with client satisfaction ratings that exceeded everyone else's. Shibamoto entered with updates on various matters. As he was leaving, he paused. "The Martin woman," he said. "She's exceeded all expectations. Some of the other liaisons are asking how she maintains such high client retention." "She treats people like they matter," Kakinai replied simply. Revolutionary concept. After Shibamoto left, Kakinai allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. That day in Lincoln Park had changed something in him, a subtle shift in perspective. Christine Martin had reminded him that not everyone operated from self-interest. Some people were genuinely good, and that goodness, rather than being a weakness to exploit, could be a strength to nurture. He'd built his empire on understanding power, but Christine had shown him something equally valuable: the power of simple human kindness, freely given, expecting nothing in return. It had cost her $3.24 and potentially saved not just his life, but reminded him of a truth he'd forgotten: that sometimes the most valuable things in life can't be bought, sold, or negotiated. They can only be given. The lesson in this story isn't complicated. True compassion doesn't calculate the cost before acting. Christine didn't check Kakinai's bank account before helping him. She didn't verify he was worthy of her sacrifice. She simply saw a human being in need and responded with immediate costly kindness. In a world that teaches us to protect our resources, to look out for ourselves first, to question every stranger's motives, Christine's choice stands as a powerful reminder that we're called to serve each other without condition. Her $5 wasn't an investment, it was an offering. And while she didn't help Kakinai expect anything in return, the universe has a way of honoring those who honor others. Sometimes the seeds we plant without any expectation of harvest are the ones that yield the greatest fruit. If this story moved you, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that kindness is never wasted. And subscribe to see more stories that challenge, inspire, and stay with you long after they end. Because the real question isn't whether you'd give your last $5 to save someone's life. The question is, do you live your life with that same willingness to sacrifice for others, even when no one's watching and there's no guarantee of reward?